Stand clear.
100% Wild Podcast.
So for all you listeners,
hello and welcome to
definitely not your favorite outdoor podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Jury Outdoors 100% Wild Podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode number 293. Sitting next to me, well, that's Matt Drury.
What's up, Tim Chelsvik?
Killed some does.
At least you killed some.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I have.
Yeah.
Time, money.
Time. We've all been burning some gas.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you what, you really are thinking twice about making the trips to the properties right now with the way gas is. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Really brutal.
Yeah. So we don't have a guest this week, and we're just kind of gonna give a update on where things are at. It's as of today, it's November the 9th. Wednesday. We have been hard at it the last few days. It's been probably a week since I've been in the studio. I'm not sure that I was here Thursday, Friday last week. I know I was out Friday. So
even when you're here, you're emotionally distant.
During deer season, for sure.
Right. My mind is somewhere else.
Yeah. So, we figured we'd just do a catch-up show and just kind of bring the viewers up to speed on where we're at.
I'd like to say thank you to all the jackass viewers that have been sending me the crap strap meme. Thanks, everybody.
I even
really
got
appreciate it.
I even got it for you. Like, people had sent it to me and said, you should show Tim this.
Thanks for filtering.
Yeah. So it's pretty. If you don't know what we're talking about, go into the Rack Pack on Facebook and check it out, because it's basically it's a tree saddle for poopers.
Yeah, for pooping. If you don't know how to poop, which, by the way, taking a dump in the woods, there's nothing more liberating than that. It's awesome.
That's not what I was gonna say.
Really?
So one time we're at the SHOT Show, and the Groove Life, who, I wear their wedding ring and their watch band and all that stuff.
I'm really curious how this is all connected.
So they came to the SHOT Show, and they were interviewing all their influencers for like a social media piece, like
Sure.
a YouTube Shorts kind of a thing. And they were asking everybody like random questions. And the final question was, have you ever shit in the woods, basically, in nicer terms? And I was like, how it said, what do you do when you have to go number 2 and you're hunting?
Yeah.
And I was like, hold it. And they're like, no way. Well, then Michael Waddell, because he was one of their influencers.
Sure.
He went into a whole thing, and he sent me a message, or he put a message on the post. He was like, oh, you're lying. There ain't no way, Matt Drury. And I'm like, I'm serious. I have not hunting.
It's got a colon like Fort Knox.
I have a traumatic experience and as from childhood memories with someone in my periphery.
Okay.
I'm not going to name names.
All
It wasn't
right.
my dad that took me turkey hunting and had an incident.
Oh.
And I found out about it years later. And so I'm like, I'm just good on shitting in the woods.
So you just, hold it.
Yeah, I hold it.
Man.
To detrimental pain sometimes.
Well, Saturday, we had that super windy day. I stayed out the entire day in a saddle in a tree that was about that big around. And when I had to hold it. Like, there's you can't poop in a saddle.
But actually, the whole point of the crap strap or whatever was that you can't.
Right, yeah, because it's just like a lumbar strap. There's no leg straps to get in the way. Which, by the way, like, who needs that? Wow.
This guy. Not this guy, that guy.
I did a lot of backpacking over the years, and you just kind of you learn your technique and you get good at it. My favorite technique is to find a small tree, and just grab it.
All right.
You got your own crap strap built in.
I don't think so, Tim.
When I got home on Saturday night, my entire house felt like it was
shaking
shaking
from you pooping.
Yes.
Let's move on.
I got
Yeah,
tired
why
of you.
don't we?
It's a horrible start to the
for
show.
being in a tree that was just waving around all day. I mean, from
Okay.
sun up to sundown, I was in
I
the
see.
friggin' saddle.
I thought you were rattling the house on the old porcelain god.
No, I'm extremely regular. You can set
Like
a clock to me.
the scene from Dumb and Dumber.
The
I
turbo
watched
laps.
that movie with my grandpa one time, and that scene, I've never heard him laugh so hard in my entire life.
That scene and the campfire and beans scene
Yeah.
in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
I just remember him saying, "Oh, goddamn, this is so goddamn dumb." So excuse me for saying GD.
It's a
I
quote.
know I'm gonna get blasted. for that
You're
from
quoting
some
your
people,
grandpa.
but yeah, Grandpa said it. It was hilarious at the time. So, anyways, so you've killed a couple does. You've been out. You got a couple nice bucks on your bourbon lease. So what's happening here?
Yeah. So I had probably 6 or 7 does walk in on me last, I think, Wednesday morning. And it almost felt like you're quail hunting or duck hunting. You know, like you got a flock of birds coming at you, got to pick one, and they're starting to come right towards my tree. And suddenly the proximity is starting to become an issue.
Yeah.
Thankfully, one of them turned broadside. That made the decision easy. But she was a mega doe. She was one of the big old nannies in the group. And so
Always
it's
good.
nice to get her out. That rage clipped the bottom like eighth of her heart and just took it off. Like, I have not seen a blood trail like this in a long, long time, just pouring out both sides. I mean, you think those bottom 2 chambers, there's nothing there. It's leaving the heart.
Yeah.
And so kind of the other benefit to that is that normally I'll let the deer meat sit in the fridge after I debone it for maybe 5 or 6 days. It's kind of a way to age it. And plus I'm just so friggin' tired after killing the deer, drying, processing, all that stuff. And normally I'll put some paper towels in the Rubbermaids with the meat so it sucks up any blood or whatever. There's no blood in the meat. It just, the blood left that deer's body so fast that there's no residual blood. It's nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was good.
I was going to do some soundboard effects.
It's the thought that counts.
I decided not to.
Good job. And she actually ran back towards the truck. So I had like a 20-yard track job.
That's the best
or 20-yard drag job. Yeah, it was
better.
really nice. But Saturday I sat out all day and saw some does. I grunted up a young buck right at the bat. But it was so windy and really tough. I did not see my target buck that day. But this morning he showed up on my cell cam right where I'd set up my tree saddle setup. So I've still got my helium sticks there. And I plan on going back later this week. And DeerCast is showing great for Friday.
Sweet.
So
Is
temperature's
today
gonna
Wednesday?
drop.
Yeah, today's
Yes.
Wednesday. That's the part of the season we're in. I'm not sure what day it is. So,
Yeah. I had one of those moments last night where Sophie said, "You've been gone so much, Dad. I miss you." Like, "Ugh."
suck it up, kid.
I didn't hunt it all on
Do you want
Sunday,
to eat this
so-
week?
Daddy's not that great, so it's going to take Daddy a little longer to
we-
make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, if we only ate when I killed stuff, we'd be screwed.
No, we'd be eating possums and squirrels.
I like to think though that if I was trying to kill just anything, it would be a little different because I've passed a ton of deer this
Sure.
year.
Yeah.
So, but I was reminded yesterday that just because you're within range doesn't mean they're gonna die.
There's no such thing as a gimme shot.
There is not.
In deer hunting in general, especially bow hunting.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So,
Deep tease.
anything else happening on your end? You're filling the freezer. You're getting good intel on your buck, so that's good.
Yeah,
He's nice.
Yeah, he's a 9-pointer, and he's got a look-alike. He's got this like another 9. This deer is probably 4, maybe 5. He's got a look-alike that's 3.
I think he's 5.
You think so?
I mean, would need to see probably some better pictures, but based on what you're showing me, I thought he's a mature buck.
He kind of looks, and it's funny just how much different because that's Bourbon, Missouri, which is kind of like an open plains, like rolling hills, mostly open ground. But then I'm hunting a lot here in West St. Louis County in the timber, and the deer just look totally different. I mean, the deer down there, they're just the body shape's a little different. Their coat is different color. And, it's interesting what happens to deer based on where they live.
Those deer in Bourbon are living a tough life. Those city deer, you got they just eating everybody's flowers and just walking around all willy-nilly, just thinking nobody's going to shoot me.
Willy
I'm
to
in
the-
the city. I'm a city gal.
Until
Tell Timmy.
that doesn't happen. Man, but it's nice to finally see some deer. And I actually saw, I was out changing a trail cam card here over the weekend, and I saw probably a 3-year-old 8-point locked down with a doe.
Oh.
So I was like, ew.
Yeah,
I don't know.
locked
Like,
down. What the
I
hell?
don't. I just get so antsy. I feel like after the rut passes, because I don't have food.
Oh, it gets tough. That gun season's going to hit this weekend, which isn't going to affect your city stuff as much, our county stuff, but still,
Yeah.
they just are. It's just a different part of the season.
Mm-hmm. So I've been popping around hunting different spots and trying to use my saddle a little bit to do some kind of reconnaissance hunting. But I do feel good. I set up in Bourbon over this funnel point. I've never hunted this part of the farm before. I found a huge scrape over there, and the plan's kind of working. Like, he's showing up there, and I didn't know
In
if
daylight,
he would or not.
that's
In
the
daylight.
difference.
Exactly. Yeah. In the morning. So definitely stay tuned. I would love to just see that deer. I've seen him on 3 different parts of the farm, all very distant from each other. So I'm trying to put together some kind of comprehend. But right now,
They're moving. Good luck.
yeah, all over the place.
Yeah. Now, one thing you have going for you there, if you find the bedroom, maybe because he's gonna lock down if he hadn't already. I mean, it's that time where he's gonna get the first available doe. So maybe you'll be in the bedroom and catch her getting up for a bite, and him following her.
Yeah. So it's just about logging that time and being down there.
Yeah, that's the tough part about the rut. And I was talking to Aaron Bennett about it this morning. He's like, man, I just feel like the rut has sucked this year. And I go, that's why I hate this part of the season, because it's feast or famine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you're lucky enough, and I mean, there's the greats, the hunters that really are great hunters, that it's probably not so much luck, but the rest of us, if you're lucky enough to be in an area where there's a hot doe, you're going to think the rut was the best rut you've ever seen. The chase and
very personalized and localized.
yeah, I think I said it on a previous podcast where it's like, I hate seeing it on Facebook this time of year. It's like, the rut is on here and such Indiana. It's like,
shut up.
It's so microscopic to what literally on the same farm, if you were 200 yards away, or maybe a little further, 500 yards away, you could miss all of that and think the rut has sucked.
Yeah.
And so I always try to keep that in the back of my mind, because if you're not in the right spot, you're not going to see shit.
Yeah.
And it is feast or famine. So you're logging more hours than normal. Mm-hmm. You're sitting all day. And you're like, man, you're questioning your spot, your setup, your life. And you're thinking, what the hell am I doing? And then you couple that with, we've had some really warm temperatures. It's like, geez, this ain't helping, because at night is when it's happening, is what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so on Saturday morning, I was hunting back in the timber here locally in St. Louis County, and it was Saturday evening. I take that back. I saw a buck chasing a doe around just up the hill from me. And it just reminds you just kind of the random nature of this time of year, because all that doe has to do is decide, I'm going to run downhill here, and then they're right in front of you, and it can happen in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, you better be ready.
And same thing with like hitting the grunt tube or the rattling antlers. Like, it was Saturday morning, I hit the grunt tube, and within seconds, this young 8-pointer pops out of the tree line at 50 yards with his head on a swivel, looking around for what you just gotta. It's mentally exhausting, because you've always got to be ready.
This time of year, if you're calling, you better. Dad has taught me that a long time ago. He's like, you get done, grab your bow, because you just don't know if something is. They don't do a lot of blind calling. Mark and Terry, they just don't. They've evolved past that. That's just not where they've, I guess, not had as many great experiences, deer going downwind or whatever.
Sure.
So they usually don't call or grunt or rattle until they see something. And even then, I haven't seen Dad do much of that at all. Mark used to be super aggressive, but anymore, you don't see him doing a lot of it unless he's seeing something and trying to drag him in.
Engage the demeanor of that deer.
It's the right time of year. But for the rest of us, I'm using it as a tactic, try to even rattle or grunt anything out of wherever the hell they're at, because I'm not seeing it.
Please come.
Basically.
Click, click, click.
and having little luck. But there too, it's feast or famine. And if you did it and there was a deer within earshot, they might come check it out. And then you think, man, they're coming a calling. But if they don't, you're like, oh, this never worked for me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with herd dynamics and what the buck to doe ratios are. We have a little archery Facebook Messenger group that I trade messages with some of my local buddies, and one of them said he on Saturday rattled in 7 bucks.
And what were the ages of the bucks?
Most of them were young, like they were not shooters. And then some other guys rattled, they grunted, they didn't see anything, and it's so location dependent.
I don't think I have at all been successful this year with it. And I have, a little bit here and there in the past, but more times than not, no. Mm-hmm. And, so was it early last week, maybe Scott and I were hunting this. We moved so we've been sitting in this spot we call the Skinny Ridge, and it's where we got the best food basically on our lease. And they basically funnel out from a bedroom that's off our property on the neighbor. Mm-hmm. And they kind of come down this skinny ridge, hence the name, where all of our food is. And they filter out into wherever they're going after that. Sure. And the deer we've had some really good encounters there this year. And some good.
Primarily an evening spot?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's been mostly, younger deer, and the oldest we have seen are like 4.5-year-olds. Okay. And we've had a couple encounters with good bucks that we've passed. And the way they filter out is from the very back end of this ridge, and they kind of work, and it's kind of late. They get to us kind of late. And so we moved a hawk blind that I had on a Keen trailer, one of those where you could hook it to your truck or a side-by-side and pull it back there, and then it's got a winch on it and winches the blind up. It's mobile.
How tall does that go?
I bet it goes 10. The bottom of the platform is probably 10 foot high.
That's I'd say Scott dove off of last year.
Yeah, that's what he fell off of last year. So 10 to 15. Nah, it's probably 10. Okay. So anyways, we put that up last week or the week before. It's all running together now. And I felt like it'd give us an opportunity to hunt different. Reason why I didn't put a tree stand back there is because there's not a great wind to sit in.
Sure.
It's at the top of this ridge. And if we were hunting there in the evening, your thermal's going to drop down. If your wind blows, out to where they're walking, they're going to walk right through it to get to the food plot. If it blows behind you, it goes to their bedroom. It's just one of those spots where you want to be, but I'm too afraid to kind of blow things out. Yeah. So we set this scent-proof blind up, and we went in there. We rode our Rogue Ridge bikes. When we set it up, there's a blowdown, huge. I think it was a huge oak tree. Yeah. And so Scott's like, I'm like, where the hell are we going to park these bikes? And he's like, oh, right here. And so he notched out basically a garage right into the middle of this thing. And so we drove our Rogue Ridge e-bikes back there. And we parked it in our garage and covered it with, one of the limbs that he cut. Mm-hmm. And they still have their leaves on it and stuff. And it was unbelievable because I look back and I'm like, there's a deer. And we thought it was this deer we've been chasing for 2 years. So we thought it was, we got a deer that's a mainframe 10 that's got real long sweeping main beams. Yeah. And when he showed up on camera, we've never gotten like great pictures of him, but I could tell it's not, our deer, it's a younger version of him basically. Well, I quickly say there's a deer. He says, he goes, I forget exactly how it played out, but he's like, it's either, how did we do that? It basically said, we got to the point where we felt like it was slingshot. Okay. The deer we're after. And I never had binoculars on him after that because I'm trying to call him. He's in the bedroom back there. He hadn't walked out into the field. So I open a window and start grunting on the back side of the blind. Okay. And he wouldn't, he's just feeding on acorns and it wouldn't do anything.
Did you throw a snort wheeze in there at him?
At the kitchen sink, basically. And he
did. Shouting at him?
He did. I did not shout. I did get his attention at some point. I don't remember if it was a snort wheeze or if it was a loud grunt, but he looks up and he turned around because he was walking away. He turned around, but then he just walked back into the bedroom that he came from. But we did have some other deer that came out and, basically the plan had worked. So that was a good encounter. We were psyched up. Well, then we start getting pictures on like a different part of the farm of slingshot right after dark, right after it was 7:45, so maybe this was before the time had changed. So I'm like, man, I mapped it out on DeerCast maps with the line tool.
Sure.
I'm like, this is like 700 or 800 yards away in a matter of an hour, not that long of a time frame. And I'm like, I guess he could go over there. Well, we looked at the footage. It was not the deer we were after. Yeah. So that was kicking the pants. So that was, a good 4.5-year-old. It was a nice and pretty deer. He's going to be a giant. I think he's in that same lineage, but it's not that deer. So that was probably around, I think that was either the October 30th or like November 1st, somewhere right in
before
there.
the time change.
Before the time change. And so then we've been grinding it since then. And Lola's birthday is on November 4th, so I missed November 4th, went on a field trip with her, then missed November 5th, Saturday, because that's when we had the party. Is what it is.
It's not her fault.
It's my fault. Is what it is.
Family planning, Matt.
Yeah. Or lack thereof.
Right.
So didn't hunt for a few days there, the 4th and the 5th, went back out on the 6th, and I'm trying to think if we had, so it was like the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, like we've been hunting since then, basically every day, morning, evening. Time changed. It's 3 a.m. We're getting up at 3 a.m. to get to our spot.
It's brutal.
And it sucks. And if you're going to Bourbon, you're going to encounter the same thing. You're going to have to get up probably about the same time, I would think.
I can get up, I think this was before it was Saturday. So it was at 5 o'clock. But now with the time change, it's going to be 4.
Yeah. So, but I'm getting up that early because I'm looking at all my pictures and the intel from the night before and the cell cameras.
Yeah. Then
I'm taking a scent-free shower. I'm doing that whole rigmarole, and then it's an hour drive to the property. So anyways, we hunted for a few days, and we went back to that spot where we encountered that deer, and we rode the Rogue Ridge bikes, and we brought a decoy this time. And our wind was kind of questionable blowing into that bedroom, but I feel good about the blind and the scent-proof nature of it. But, you're like, oh, just in case. We set the doe decoy out in this road that they walk down. And then we put out a whole buck bomb, doe and estrus, I think, or doe and he, I forget what they call it, and sprayed the whole entire bottle. You could click the tab down and spray the whole thing.
Pop and smoke.
And it went straight to the bedroom. So we get in the blind, and not very long after, here comes a little bitty, year and a half year old buck.
Out.
And he came out there, he was checking, he's licking his lips. He checked it out, and he moved on. Had a couple does pop out right to our right, which is where why we put the blind where we did, because we got a camera there, and a bunch of deer kind of crossed the ridge side to side right there.
Yeah.
So a couple does popped out, and they kind of were, does are, in my experience, are the crappy ones. Like those are the ones that you have to beat with a decoy.
Oh yeah.
They're the worst about it. So then he's probably 2.5-year-old buck came out, and he came straight to her, and then he tries mounting her. He knocks her over. Then he circles her, and he's still
bad for him.
Like he's raping her basically. It doesn't get no means no. And he stuck around for like 5-10 minutes. It just kept circling, going back, coming back, going away, coming back. And so it was interesting to see that. And to me, it's
he looked like he had busted off antlers, so he's got the making of a bully buck.
Yeah. So he was. It was interesting to kind of see that activity, because we hadn't been seeing anything. So it felt good. Oh, you know what? Somewhere in between there, I totally missed this. We had an encounter one morning with a deer we call Titan. I think either 5.5 or 6.5-year-old buck, and he's a stud. A total shooter. I was game on. We were back at the shack plot, and he came from behind us, and he was crossing the ridge. He didn't come out to the plot, of course. And so Scott's got great footage of him, because Scott's facing that way, the back of the tree, and I don't have any shooting lanes, because it's basically where our wind typically would be blowing. It wasn't that day. We kind of pushed it a different direction. Yeah. But I tried grunting. I tried, snort wheeze, everything. He was looking, but he didn't come in. And I bet he's in the mid to upper 50s. He's a nice buck. Since then, last night or this morning, I looked at the cameras. He's busted up
Really?
Yeah, which he was busted up majorly last year.
That is a major issue. You're looking at a great deer, and then all of a sudden they're missing a couple tines.
Yeah.
Like, crud, he's not what I wanted him to be.
And so the question is, do you shoot him or do you not shoot him? If he comes in, I think you shoot him. Last year we didn't. He came out during gun season and he was really majorly busted, like an entire side. And so we didn't. But this year it's his G3, I think. And so it's like, he's got a lot of tines. It's like, do you shoot him? I think you kind of do if you saw him. But that was disappointing because we had him at like 40 yards. He just wouldn't come anywhere. There was two logging roads that come right down each side of us to this food plot. If he would have got on either one, he's 15 yards.
He seemed to think something was up.
Yeah, it was us.
Yeah. He was staring a hole through the cedars.
And he was limping then. So he had already been fighting. So since then, somebody kicked his ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Timid too.
So anyway, we I guess we have had a couple. I mean, you're hunting so much. These are few and far between.
Sure.
So it feels like we haven't been in the chips, but I guess we kind of have.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have something to bring home, you feel like it was a complete loss. But you're learning stuff every time you go out, hopefully.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm trying to think if there's any other encounters between then and now. No, I don't think so. So then we decided yesterday, I told him the night before, I was like, screw it. Let's just sleep in. Because we got skunked, I think, the day before. Morning, afternoon, skunk. Yeah. And I was like, a couple days of 3 a.m. It's tough. So anyways, we decided to sleep in. I went and voted. I was like, give me an opportunity to go vote. And then we could just go out mid-morning and sit all day. So this was yesterday. So we went out and we got in, stand maybe by 11:30 and didn't see anything. And I said by 2 or 2:30 we would get out and move spots. We had intel of Reconics cell camera pictures of the short G210, this deer that's on the hit list, hitting this back spot that we don't go too much. It's kind of secluded.
And you got a blind back there?
And Scott put one up maybe 3 weeks ago. Okay. So we moved one kind of in anticipation for our gun season as much as anything. And but the cell camera pictures, we probably don't have enough coverage back there on cameras, but we got one on a scrape site, but we don't have any on the food plot because every time we have one on the food plot, we don't get any good pictures. It's a clover plot that had been planted before we start using this lease. And so I don't know what kind of seed it was. I don't know what kind of clover, it is.
Sure.
And it probably needs to be totally redone, but it's a really lush
clover just leave it. Yeah.
So anyways, we decided to go back there because the night before at 8 or so, 7:30, something like that, we got pictures of this deer. And then he was like yesterday morning at 4:45, he's running does. There's several, 2 or 3 different bucks, younger bucks in there, just pictures back and forth. I'm like, man, I think maybe there's a hot doe back there or something. And we had looked 2 days before that at any sign because we're desperate looking to hang a new set or move, do something.
I know that feeling.
So we noticed a bunch of sign and kind of like a little bedroom that had kind of escaped us up to this point. So I'm like, let's give it a shot. But our wind, again, is going to be blowing kind of where I felt like his bedroom was if he was over there at all. But I'm like, let's bring the doe decoy back out. We saw how this worked the night. I think it was the night before, 2 nights before. I'm like, let's try that again and put the buck bomb out again. And so we set the doe decoy up and we set her up where she'd be past our downwind side.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully wherever they are, they'd come past us. We'd stay locked up in the blind and then boom, as soon as they got to the decoy, we could attack.
Sure.
So
best laid plans.
Yeah. So, hey, Scott, you want to jump in over here? I should tell this story, but Scott should help tell this story.
Tell the story. All right, Scotty's coming in off his workstation, hard at work on the social media.
Well, this has basically been the first day we've been in office for about 5. So.
All right, man. There's your headset.
All right, so we have a deer, the short G210. I basically from the beginning of the year, I said to Scott, I'd love for you to. This deer is at least 5.5. He's a great buck. It's just not something I'm interested in, but he's a great buck.
Oh yeah.
And so, early in the year when you were in Iceland, Aaron and I had an encounter with him, and I was going to try to kill him because he's one of those deer where it's like, here's a mature buck. We barely ever see him here. If we see one, we got to kill it. So I tried killing it. We messed up in the blind. We spooked him right at last light. Luckily, we didn't shoot because the footage sucked. But anyway, so
last night's footage was pretty good.
So last night, I'm thinking I haven't made a right call all year, so this is likely not going to happen. But every time we go to a blind, Scott brings a crossbow and I bring my vertical bow. And if one of the deer that I don't want to shoot that's mature that comes in, if he wants to shoot it, it's fair game, right? We got to get a kill somehow, some way out here. So I don't even think I told you this part. I was when I pulled up in the parking lot yesterday.
I said a prayer for you.
No, this is no lie. I was talking to Dad and we were talking about, how things are going or whatever. And they're over in Illinois kind of struggling right now. And I told him my plan and I said, I have a feeling if we see anything, it's going to be the short G210 back on the clover. And I go, at this point in the season, I should probably shoot him because I'm desperate. But I told Scott from the beginning, he's going to shoot that deer. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to have him bring the crossbow.
And that's where you screwed up.
And so Dad goes, go and shoot his ass. He's like, kill him, like, what are we waiting on? Like, quit messing around, So, I've called shots all year that have never panned out. Well, so we put this doe decoy out. We sit there from 2:30 or 3. We walked in silent. We logged that damn thing in there with us. It was just like quiet. Nothing's moving. I did a call sequence earlier. Nothing. Like, it's just like, man, I'm hating life at this lease at the moment because it's just been tough.
And the funny thing is we're sitting in the blind doing these interviews talking about nothing all night.
It's sunset. Literally, sun has set. And because I had looked at the time, it was like 4:57 or whatever. Yep. And I'm like, great. Well, sunset. All the deer are going to pop out. Let's see if we see anything. And here comes a doe. Or a button buck, and then mama doe. And she instantly starts and stomping and looking, head bombing. Does do not like decoys.
That drives me nuts. Yeah.
And I'm pretty much dog cussing her in that blind. I am steaming because I know on that farm we have the last 30 minutes. Typically the last 10 minutes is when we're going to see something. She popped out. She blows out of there. And I'm like, well, there goes our friggin' night. And I'm really pissy in the blind. And Scott, take it from there.
Well, he's right. I mean, we were both pretty much done at that point after the struggles of the last week. And then, I'm just kind of looking around and I look back out that same window where I spotted that doe. Siri? But anyways, I look back out that left window where the does have popped out and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a buck. That might be the short G2 buck. And this
is downwind.
Yeah, right, directly downwind of the blind, but that's also where that buck bomb was blowing. Yeah. So I think that really helped us out there. Okay. But he stepped out and he started slowly working into the plot, and he got to a point where he just stopped and looked at the blind. So I'm sitting here looking at this deer, biggest buck I would have ever shot. I
said, that's a short G210, grab your bow.
Yep.
Because I didn't want there to be any mistake for him or us to screw it up. I'm like, grab your bow, get ready. So he's on him and he hands me the camera.
Yep. So turn the Tacticams on, hand Matt the camera.
No, they were on from the doe.
I turned them off in between there. You didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quick on that.
Yeah.
But turned it off, turned it back on as soon as he steps out. I was pushing buttons last night, just pushed the wrong ones. But he stepped out and he comes in, and so he stops right there, middle of it, and I'm losing my mind at this point.
But why?
Buck fever, Tim.
Because
he's the biggest buck that I would have ever shot. I mean,
I think by far too.
Oh, by far. I mean,
he was nice.
The River Farm deer was great. Scar was great last year, but this
130-inch mature bucks.
Yeah, but this one was gonna top all of them, and I was excited.
And he's redded out, like his neck looks like a football player,
and he's looked that way all summer. I mean, he was that way last year, which was we couldn't figure out how old he was till we saw him in person, and I thought, maybe he is 4.5 last year, but he's just got a kind of a Brahma muscular body like style. Me. Yes, much like you.
Like that. But anyway, so he was just there tearing me up. And then all of a sudden I just hear my foot in the blind.
I mean, those keen trailers, the way they work, I mean, they're great, but you're strapped down to. I don't know how to explain that.
So you got to anchor the blind down, so if the wind blows, it doesn't tip over. So we've got these big anchors put down.
Like if you're shifting your weight, you will move the blind a little bit, which will make a noise.
Yeah.
Well, so that was like he was making noise with his leg, and I'm like, Scott, it's dead quiet. I'm like, you got to stop shaking your leg. He's going to hear us.
And in the footage, you can hear me say, Matt, I can't. Like, I was trying. And so what I ultimately ended up doing was like putting my elbow on my leg and just pushing down to try and keep it, because I was losing
like
it, man.
A dick afterwards. I feel like Mark like giving orders in the blind. I shouldn't have been that way, but I was afraid he was going to spook, and he was still quartering to and nowhere near where he could get a crossbow out the window. He had to come 20 yards. He's in our zone, but not in a good spot to be shot. We can't open the windows because he's downwind. Like there's just a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on. But so we keep rolling. He takes a few steps, stops, stares at us for a couple minutes, keeps doing that thing, and eventually he gets into about 27 yards. We get all the latches open. I go to open the window, and I move like an inch, and he just boom looks right up at us. And so Matt and I stay frozen. I think Matt's got his arm like up in the air like this, trying to hold a camera.
What's your leg doing at this moment?
It's not shaking.
Not there. I was too preoccupied with trying to not move the window at all. And so just keep going here, and he just slowly works his way in. We had ranged a couple spots earlier, and we knew that he was within 30.
I felt 30-ish is where I felt he was.
Matt's just like, change your HHA on your crossbow, change it to 30, like shoot him. Yeah. And then, so it's like, we get the window open, and I just grabbed that Leupold because I wanted to make sure that rangefinder. So I ranged him, and I got 27.7 yards. Looked down at my HHA, I dialed it real quick, and I hit 29, and I was like, well, close enough.
The reality of all this with that crossbow looking, hindsight 2020, you probably could have shot him just fine at 20 yards where the pin was. It's so fast and so flat at that yardage, it probably doesn't matter that much.
Right. But ultimately dialed it. We get the window up. Matt's holding it up. We've got all the angles running in the blind. He's standing there broadside staring at us, not moving. And I pull up and aim low heart because I'm thinking, he's going to drop. It's as calm as this evening is. Mm-hmm. He's going to drop. But those crossbows are so quick, and my aim was just a little low and right underneath him, 2 inches under. The only saving grace is that I didn't injure him. I
don't even know if it was an inch under. I mean, it was like, I'm shocked we didn't graze his belly. It was that.
Yeah. I mean, we looked at the footage several times, and we went out and found the arrow. There's no blood, no hair, no nothing in the plot.
Did you know in the moment that it was a clean miss?
In the moment, I was kind of like, what happened? Like, I thought I hit him, and then he asked me what happened, and I was like, well, did I miss?
I kept saying, I think you missed him. I wasn't positive, but I felt like, because we could see the knock was lit, and I just felt like it was low.
Yeah.
I felt like it was low and left. He was heading right, so low and kind of back, but I don't think it was really back now that I look at the footage, just because you were to my left. It was just kind of my point of view of it, but it was just low.
Yep. So just low, just missed. He kind of bounded out of there, blew, and left the field. And so that was all she wrote. So kind of bungled that one
pretty
up.
deer.
Really is. Yeah.
And he's got some cool character on that. Is it that right? G3, G4?
G4.
Yeah, that G4. His right G4 is just laid over sideways.
So it's happened during Velvet.
Yeah. Huh. But he's pretty awesome.
It just
lots of mass.
It kind of reminds you that there's no guarantee in deer hunting, and there's no participation trophy. Like, you can work as hard as you want to, and it just, unless you seal the deal, it just doesn't matter.
And people give us shit about the box blinds, and people give all kinds of people crap about crossbows, and neither one of them helped us kill that deer. You know what I mean? Like, you still got to execute.
Yeah, you still got to execute. The funny thing is I got home and I went to tell my wife about what had happened. And so she's like, well, wasn't it with the crossbow? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, isn't that a guarantee?
You
and it's
idiot.
like, oh my gosh. So I
She
kind of
doesn't
lost
hunt.
it.
She doesn't know shit about it.
No, it's like, there's
You didn't beat her,
never,
did you?
No, I didn't. I ate my dinner and then I went upstairs and I went to bed and just licked my wounds.
Cried a little.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was some tears involved. I didn't sleep very well last night.
Yeah.
I think it was about 1 or 2 before I finally went to bed.
Like if you're like me, you just play it over and over, and then eventually at some point you got to say, okay, I got to put that away, and I got to focus on what I'm doing next.
Yeah, but then you come back to work and Matt's like, hey, can I get that clip, that
Let's
footage?
do a podcast about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I closed that
Sorry.
wound last night at 2 a.m. and then today it's boom, back wide
As
open.
soon as we got in, hey, I'm going to need that clip.
Yeah.
But it's the double-edged sword of the exposure that we have in doing what we do. It was, I remember back in the day before I was filming my hunts, you miss and it was just, soul crushing, but at least you didn't have proof and watch it over and over and rewind it. And other people are critiquing you on what you did wrong and how but yeah, it's definitely, you definitely hear it. And it just echoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a sting, and the sting is, and shit happened, so it's not like, it is what it is. You start over and you get back after it. The sting of it is that we don't have many opportunities out there. So the fact that I screwed up in the early season on that deer, the fact that the Titan buck came behind us instead of in front, it's just like how you only get so many chances. And if you don't capitalize on those chances, you don't get them back. And that's the difference between a great season and a shitty season. And Mark and Terry said that it's a Stoltz quote years ago. The difference between a great season or a horrible season may be a matter of inches, and that's what happened.
Yep. Yeah.
And so far we're on a bad season.
Mark also said something on one of our previous podcasts about how when you have an encounter with a deer, your odds of seeing that deer again reset. You're not. You typically don't kind of keep narrowing in when you have encounters, especially really engaging encounters like what you guys
Traumatic
had.
encounters
It's
with the deer.
Everything resets and you may or may not even see that deer.
Yeah. And the way he ran, it's kind of off property there. And it's like, I know we don't have a lot of cameras back there.
We have nothing back
Who
there.
knows when he might show back up.
Gun season's this weekend.
Yeah.
We won't be there. We'll be up at Dad. So, and the landowner and his wife will likely be hunting, which I hope if anybody kills him, I hope somebody in our group kills him. That's all I care about, landowner or us, whoever.
Yeah.
But it may be one of those deer where, we may not get another chance with a bow, but maybe gun season or late season with muzzleloaders, we got a lot of food for late season.
Yeah.
So I could see him where his area kind of is. I could see us getting a chance then, but it's tough. It's tough.
To kind of scaffold this situation out into social media, something I wish we would be better at as hunters is to, instead of crapping on people that have maybe they made a bad shot or maybe they missed or what, instead of giving them garbage on social,
lift them up,
say, hey man, I know that sucks.
Alan's shaking his head no.
Alan's a stone. Alan's never missed a deer. He's killed everything he's ever shot at.
Good point.
But just say, hey, that sucks. I'm sorry for you. It's a long season. Go back and go get them again.
To play off that comment. So, yesterday, I think Terry's Deer Season 22 episode went up with his Illinois buck.
Yep.
That field dress 239. Really cool story. Ben here in the studio edited. It was awesome. Well done. So you had sent out a notification in DeerCast about it. So I had clicked it. I always click them to make sure they're working. Clicked it, went to it, and I had watched the video earlier in the morning. And so I was just kind of perusing through the comments to see what people were saying about it. And 99.9% great. One jerk came in there.
Jerk.
Came in there and he basically said, I got to call this guy out because this is it blew me away.
Oh,
and,
it's Alan Crook.
let's see here. And I kind of had to just finally call a spade a spade. I couldn't take it. Dad was much nicer about it. So this guy, his name is, and we are going to name his name, because
his IP address is
Michael Weber. He says, why didn't you let your mom take a 180-inch deer rather than some little wimp buck?
what?
And so I said,
Okay.
So I couldn't take it. And I said, this was the high road part. Wow, you have no idea how hard he's tried for 2 years to get her on a deer. He would have been elated for her to shoot one that big, which is nearly impossible to do anyways. Your comment is classless. So he comes in there and he goes, I'm an ignorant asshole, just saying, don't cushion it up and tiptoe around my comment. It's clear that mom easily could have been put on a bigger deer. He said deal. He meant deer. He's a dummy. That's your whole business, boys. And then he called me Bud. And Dad got in there and just said, thank you for the comment. Thanks for watching.
Wow.
She had the green light on any deer. That gave us an opportunity. Up to her to decide what tickles her fancy. Pray to the good Lord above that every hunter can experience with their mother a hunt of a lifetime. By the way, if you have any hunts with your mother that you would like to share, please send them in for everyone on DeerCast to watch. We would love to showcase them. And then I had just saw those this morning or just a little bit ago. And, he had said in his comment, he goes, I'm an ignorant asshole. So I just said, well, you're right about one thing. You're an asshole. I'm going against our own community guidelines, but I was so pissed about it. It's like, dude, they literally built a lift that they attached to a tractor, lifted her up into the blinds because she was having knee issues.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't try to get a person on a deer. Then, she's 89. She has to see the deer. She's got to get on them. I mean, we've watched the videos. It's very hard to do, Yeah. And so I just felt I don't know. I felt like
bristled up a little bit.
I did, man. It really, because usually I always take the high road too in the comments. I just couldn't believe it. It's like
it's a bizarre beef to have.
Yeah.
Hey, your mom tagged out on a beautiful buck. You should have let her have that. Like it's a grocery store where you can just go in and pick and choose.
And he should go back and watch that video of her walking up on that deer and listen to her comment. She was like, oh, he's beautiful. She was tickled to death. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, we see too much of that crap on social media nowadays. Like, I can't stand it being... That's kind of what I do here.
You got to look at it all day. I got to read through
all these comments. And I mean, I can't wait to read the comments on this podcast because, why is that young, healthy guy shooting a crossbow? It's like, I'm going to clear the air right now. I've been so busy this year, I haven't shot my vertical bow. I don't feel like I could make an ethical shot. So I tried to use a crossbow.
Yeah.
And we
still can't shoot the crossbow.
We see what you eat. You're not healthy.
No, I'm not.
Definitely
Monsters in Copenhagen, Tim.
Right, donut holes for breakfast.
Yes.
I don't know how you're still alive.
The occasional backstrap.
Yeah.
A few and far between based on our killing.
Yes.
So to follow that up, yesterday was a rough day. We're sitting in that stand on the first hunt, and I get a text from Mark. The farmer found my deer dead. From Iowa that I hit. It was a full month later. Mark had got pictures of him a week ago on this field that I had hit him on. He was kind of back to a feed pattern, and they were trying to hunt him the last few days, trying to kill him, just because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't get back up there because of Lola's birthday and some other stuff happening. So anyways, the farmer found him. He either died of his wound or infection set in or coyotes got him or
broken heart.
He was broken. Mine was broken. He was definitely, the coyotes had gotten him. I don't know if that's how he died or what, but so there's some closure there. So now we have to go up to Iowa to tag the deer because I do have to tag that deer. And we talked to the game warden to see how we should handle it. He said, if he has that unused tag, he needs to come up and tag the deer. And Mark's like, no, we stopped hunting immediately, afterwards because we felt like he would die from it. And he's like, actually, I want you guys to produce that because that's the right thing to do. I want other people to see that when you shot that deer, you stopped using your tag because you hit a deer. It would be good for people to see. And instantly, like, that's where the ego part comes in. I'm like, man, I'm going to get murdered over this. Like and yes, it's the right thing to do, but there's no right way to like approach that. Like, I'm going to get hammered over the fact that I hit the deer bad and then he suffered for a month. Yeah, it ain't going to be about, you quit hunting and you tagged him a month later.
Well, so we get dinged for only showing the best of the best. But then when we show the realities of how hunting is not always the cleanest, easiest, thing that you get dinged for that. So we literally we're always trying to make the best decision to honor the deer that we hunt, the laws that are in place, the traditions of the sport, the heritage that we have. We're recognizing that we're ambassadors and have this media exposure. So I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to give us credit that wasn't already giving us credit.
I'm not looking for that, but it's a tough, you get put in tough positions where, because it's public, it's out there, and we put it out there. That's us, that's what we do for a living, but you got to be able to take the heat, I guess. And with the grandma thing, I'll take the heat on my deal. I screwed up. I didn't shoot the deer where I needed to. That's the bottom line. You're taking the heat on yours. This thing with grandma really pissed me off.
We should don't mess with family. Don't mess with family.
We remember when we had grandma on the podcast? It was hilarious.
Yes. So we'll have her back. And
we do need to have her back.
Michael Weber, whatever his name is.
So anyways, Scott and I in the morning, we're heading up to Iowa. We're drive the 5-6 hours up to Iowa. We're going to tag the deer. Then I'm going to drive 2 hours southeast to Terry's farm. So we'll get there tomorrow night. And then I'm going to try to hunt Friday morning, because obviously I still have a bow tag in Missouri. So I'm going to hunt Friday morning and Friday afternoon, because we got a huge weather front.
Going to be huge.
Yes.
Should be a great weekend.
Huge. So we're going to hunt Friday, try to get it done with a bow. And then we have gun season opens up Saturday morning. So we'll already be at Dad's, and we'll see what we can do up there.
Gun it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Which deer season's going to be, or rifle season's going to be a little different for us this year. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about it yet.
So we've have formed a partnership with Silencer Co. and Silencer Central, and we're shooting silencers on our guns this year.
I think anytime we mention them, we have to say it, Silencer Central. Let's say it like that.
Dude, honestly, after shooting one with silencer, it's pretty quiet.
So there's a lot of laws and stuff around that too. So Scott and I legally can shoot my silencers based on the paperwork that's been done and filled out. So Scott had sighted in the guns. Alan filmed and helped with the setup one day where I had meetings or something going on. So they set them up and sighted them in and said just how crazy quiet it is. So Friday, the other thing is midday, I'm going to shoot, make sure I'm comfortable with it and used to it before we take them out Saturday morning. So
it's cool. It's really cool tech.
Yeah, I look forward to rubbing it in Dad's face, because he hadn't done the paperwork he needs to, so he's not able to shoot the silencer. Forrest is, Scott is, I am. Mark and his crew, they're all set up with him as well. So it'll be cool. We're looking forward to seeing what it's all about, honestly.
Anytime someone mentions silencers, I think about the scene from John Wick where he and Common are in the subway and they're just trading handgun rounds with each other, from a balcony and the lower level, and there's people just walking by and no one hears it. It's not like that.
No.
But I mean, to be honest with you, I forgot hearing protection that day that we went up, and I was like, crap, this is going to suck. I know there's silencers, it's supposed to help, but
you were shooting the 350 and the 6.8.
The 6.8 is what scared me. The 350, I was like, that's kind of like, I feel like that's a 22 almost as far as recoil and noise. It's very awesome gun to shoot. But that 6.8 last year, Matt was calling it a hand cannon, and he blew apart half the blind with it, and I was like, oh gosh. So didn't have hearing protection.
I'm just here to mess stuff up.
Yeah. But first shot with that thing, it was just super ultra quiet, no ringing in the ears, awesome, easy to shoot. It actually reduced the recoil. So
on that 6.8.
Oh yeah,
reduced it. So
it was pretty nice. So
cool. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. So are you able to gun hunt bourbon or no? Yeah. Will you? I know you're a bow guy. You're an elitist.
Yeah. I just really like to shoot my bow.
Maybe you should just belong to the working class bow hunter group and leave the rack pack altogether.
If I could, I would in a heartbeat. But it's
Kurt, can you hire this guy?
We're in talks.
Oh.
So
do we still get to keep that knife op trademark?
Not
When
your
you
favorite
leave.
outdoor. Yeah, it still applies.
Yes. I love it when people do the questions to get into the Rack Pack on Facebook. They're usually like, the best shows are the ones where Mark and Terry are on. Ha ha ha. This is the best thing about it is when it ends. Like our Rack Packers have a really great sense of humor. I love that.
Is that what that is?
I hope it's a sense of humor.
Are
They're just
they-
not being mean.
Yeah, they're being truthful.
Those don't sound like friends at all. They sound like jerks.
Now the Rack Pack's growing, and I got a screenshot from a buddy of mine from back home that he's in there too, and he got a kick out of somebody couldn't go hunt today, so they had screenshot. They have a newborn, and they were at home with the newborn. And they were watching DoD TV or whatever. So I love all the success stories the Rack Packers are putting in there. That is awesome. I try to if I see one, I try to comment on it. I love seeing all the success. Yeah, and I'm jealous of every single bit of it.
It's easier to be happy for people once you've punched a few tags.
I know. I punched a few people.
I got an Instagram message from a guy, DJ Cox, which he reached out to us last year and was telling us how much he's been enjoying DeerCast. But he sent me a message last night after my miss, and he's like, "Oh, check out this awesome buck I just shot." It's like, "Oh, great, man! I'm so happy for you," and I am happy for him. But it's like, right now, I got to get this message now.
Yeah.
I had somebody from Whitetail Edge had put a screenshot on Instagram and tagged me as it was a great night. They must have killed something.
Yep.
And so I had shared it on my stories, and I said it was a great night for us too. And then after I put it up, I'm like, well, I shouldn't have put that out there because people are going to think we killed something. It was a great night. I consider it a great night that we saw a shooter within bow range. That's how abused we are out there.
We were reminded of what a mature book looks like.
Yeah.
Dang.
Best guess. How old do you think he is?
I mean, I personally thought he was 5.5 last year. I think he's 6.5.
See, I think he's 5.5 this year.
If he was 4.5 last year, he was a giant 4.5.
But
because Broke Brow was 5.5, we had his jaw aged.
Yeah, but if you think about it, we had Doug found his shed, and it was not impressive.
True.
We're like, ugh, good thing we didn't shoot him.
Yeah.
Well, not much mass, and
we're gonna have to wait to find out now. Can't eat his jawbone if he's not dead.
Get his tooth. Get his tooth.
Maybe he ran into a tree and knocked out a tooth on the way. We should go look. Age him that way.
Yeah, that's about
It's
the
like
only
the
way we'll catch up
liver
with him.
test.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we'll find out though.
We didn't get him on camera last night or this morning.
No.
Okay.
No, we got Titan and he was busted. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll grow a new tine.
Or maybe he lives to see another year. He'll be like a mega giant next year. He's a good deer this year. Yeah. I was excited he was on my hit list. Yeah.
Was
a short list out there.
Jeez.
So
let's help our buddy Justin out with the question of the day. Scott,
I don't know that Justin wants our help at this point.
I mean, we're pretty much scientists.
These questions about photos, I'm good with that.
Right.
Not shooting.
All right, so the question of the day is proudly brought to you by Sportsman Channel, your home for Winchester and Drury's natural born and everything red, wild, and blue. God bless America. I hope you voted yesterday. Here's Justin.
Hello, my name is Justin. I'm from Northeast Oklahoma, and my question is, will a white-tailed doe choose which buck breeds her, or will she allow any buck to breed her once she goes into estrus?
I feel like this is a question that only Kip Adams or Grant Woods or these guys that are actually. But my guess is, a dummy guess is, they have no choice based on what I see. When a buck, if she's in, it's going to be.
She's in. She's loving every minute, man.
Like every buck in the area is trying to get a piece of the action. What do you think?
So this is part of the whole natural selection piece, in that they want to see which males are going to be the best have the best genetics. So that's rack size, that's body size, all those things. And that's also like speed, stamina, endurance. That's why they run away from them. And the bucks that can kind of keep up and are, if she's an estrus, and she will try to mate with the most genetically superior buck around. But if she's in
Is
estrus,
this science? You've looked this up.
this is science.
Okay.
But if there is a doinker that walks by and there's no other options, she will get bred.
So I was right too. Basically,
Pretty
she's
much.
not got a choice.
Pretty much. She
If something
will,
could catch her, they're getting in.
Now, yeah, in the question of the wildlife word is about when a doe is not bred, what happens then? Because that does happen depending on the herd dynamics. But typically, a doe will get bred if she comes into estrus. She'll try to get bred by the most genetically superior buck, but if not, she'll go with the scrub.
Will they all go into estrus?
Yeah, I mean,
Like at some point through this.
the only situation, and I don't know, like on the like the old end of does, if there's a point where they hit some kind of like menopause or something, but
I don't know. I could just stop saying I'm sure.
well, clearly, but fawns, I think once a deer hits 90 pounds, once a fawn like a doe hits 90 pounds, I think that she will typically come into estrus that year. If she doesn't, then she will not. She'll come into estrus her next year, next full year.
I didn't know that.
So, sciences. How about the wildlife word?
And I'm a big boy.
Brought to you by DeerCast Wind Check, which I'm using all the time
Same.
now.
Yep.
Addicted.
Yep.
That we knew that once the season got here, that would be the most used feature in the app because it's just constantly and I'll be honest, I'm still using a scent puffer or a wind checker, and it's pretty dang dead on. Even though it doesn't account for topography and thermals, it's not bad. Like it's pretty dead on. We've been pretty much hunting using it exclusively.
The thing I think we need to test out further, which Tim, you might be able to test this out with some of your spots, but we hunt on top of ridges.
Yeah.
Everything's up top. So I feel like the wind is always going to be a little more true up where we
Sure.
hunt. In those lower areas, it might be a little more swirly or something. So you always got to keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, to your point, wind check's been awesome. Like even last night we used it and it's like, well, the buck bomb's going to blow right there, help cover us. And it worked.
It did.
So
it's and the night, was that the night before or the 2 nights before?
2 nights before
When
I
we
believe.
used it
Yep.
on the back of their skinny ridge.
Yep.
So it's been great.
It's great. Okay. So if a doe is not bred for the first time she comes into heat, how long will it be before she's receptive again? Is it A, 28 days, B, the very next day, C, 1 year, or D, it depends. She's not a light switch that can be flipped on at a moment's notice. You can't just come home and expect it. Geez, I mean, how about flowers every once in a while? Rub her back without having to lead somewhere. Help out around the house. Take her out on a date night someplace nice where you don't have to order your food by a meal deal number.
This hits home, Tim.
That's
for
a
you,
really
doesn't
long
it?
answer.
Was
Can
that
you
too
reread D
specific?
for me? I didn't catch all
I have it
that.
memorized.
$200 is $200.
Is it A, 28 days, the next day, 1 year, or she's not a light switch?
You and my dad decided that your mom was really hot.
Take that back.
I guess the guess always has to
Yeah,
go first.
yeah,
So
we're waiting on
okay,
you.
all right. So
Slick.
I'm gonna go ahead and guess the 28 days,
Okay.
but I feel like there still could be a little wiggle room there. Not exactly 28, but
Okay.
around that month mark.
Okay.
I was going to say that as well, actually. And I just thought, well, they always talk about the second rut. And is it a trickle type of a thing, or is it they just come in later? I don't know. But I have nothing to back this up on. But I was going to go with
you have solid reasoning.
This is a house of learned doctors.
You boys trusted your guts, and your guts were collectively correct. 28 days.
Typically,
Yes.
typically
Yes.
the two guts combined make one poor decision.
Yes.
We're a walking bad decision duo. No, yeah. So about a month after they come into estrus the first time, if they do not get bred, they'll be receptive again. So yeah, second rut, sometimes a third. If it just doesn't happen, they'll come into estrus maybe a third time.
And we were talking about those fawns earlier coming in for that second rut or whatever.
Yeah.
I've actually seen like mature bucks on little fawns in like January. like
creepy,
chasing them. So
yeah,
it does happen.
I don't like
It's
it.
horrible.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't say that.
Okay. Fireman 0000002 give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
That doesn't make sense.
He could have just said Fireman 2. It adds up to the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There probably is a Fireman 0000001. So you had to.
I tell you guys about my vanity plate in college. I had my Ford Bronco 2, and I was a huge Wayne Gretzky fan, so I tried to get Great 1.
You have said this.
I got Grat 5.
Nobody knows what it means.
Everyone was like, "Hey, what's Grat 5?" It's a long story.
Close.
It's actually a short one.
It's a short and bad one I live with for the 3 years I own that piece of crap.
You want to punch me right now, but you won't.
Every time I see a Bronco on the road, now I'm like, I just get,
Crap
I get the chills because my Bronco 2 was a piece of garbage. Hated that thing.
Alan's is now too.
Yee.
All right, what do you
Fireman
have to
says, love this podcast and all the great information and the laughs you'll get out of it. Definitely recommend this podcast.
Hey, thanks, Fireman.
Thank you, Fireman. Appreciate it.
I love that.
All
right.
We got some new rack packers.
We're down to the end. And if anybody's still listening, we are going to show B-roll of Scott's miss.
Perfect.
Just so if you were curious.
Just to make sure I never
you
live it down.
Seen Wade's episodes at like 30,000 views?
I don't know what's happening.
We've never had one. The Waddell one, I think, was our best. I mean, I haven't looked at that in a long time, but at the time it was like 15,000, 18,000. Like 30,000 views is.
Maybe Dustin Lynch shared it.
But we talk about Wade's big kill. We talk about some, land management stuff, and we talk about my hit and misfortune.
Well, that's probably.
So people either like to revel in his fortune or my misfortune.
I will say a fair number of Rack Pack members, when they do the admittance questions, they say they appreciate hearing about our failures.
Well,
Makes them feel
maybe
better.
Mine helped us get to 30,000
So,
views. I wouldn't recommend it, Tim. Maybe this episode with Scott will get us. Some views.
Yeah. We'll
Big
just keep,
failure, big views. So share it with
That's
your friends.
the title.
Watch
Big
this incredible
failure,
miss.
big views.
let's do it.
All right. So every week we welcome in some new Rack Pack members from Facebook. It's a private Facebook group. If you're new to the show here, you just go search Rack Pack or Drury Outdoors Rack Pack and it'll come up. Every week Tim lists out some names. I butcher them, and every week there's a fake name in here. All right. We have Chase Stanley, Marcus Adelhunter, David Standifer, Paul Maddock, Zach Findler.
I know that guy.
name sounds familiar.
I know him. You know him.
How do I know him?
I used to mow our lawn.
Oh, Zach. What's up, buddy? Noah Martin, Jason Slaughter, Sam Taylor, Jason Slaughter, Chase Stanley, Marcus Adelhunter, Saddle Hunter, Mark is a saddle hunter. Hey, this is the first time I've ever gotten it.
That's great. And I giggled thinking about Mark
Is a saddle hunter.
out secretly trying it out just to see what it's all about. And
Mark is a saddle hunter.
he's a secret.
Did
saddle.
Mark happen to send you the crap strap meme?
No, but I'm sure it's crossing his
coming.
mind.
Chase sent it to me about you.
Great.
And then he said something about a raise. Hold on, this is actually worth bringing up on the podcast.
Well,
Hold on.
while you're doing that, one
got
of our rack packers posted that he's like, "Hey, I was on the skid steer this morning and was listening to the show and found out that I'm a fake person."
I saw that. Sorry, bud. So he sends me this crap strap and he goes, "This can be Tim's Christmas bonus." And I go, "LOL, what bonus?" And then he goes, "One he didn't earn."
Oh yeah, all these guys are freelancers, man. What are you talking about?
Oh, man.
I thought it was good all around.
Really?
Good on Chance, good on me, some snappy, and it was quick
Wait,
comebacks.
Chance?
Yeah.
You said Chase at first.
Hold on.
I just need to know who I need to fight.
Hold on. Chance, sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Chance Hollinshed.
Chance is one of those friends that loves kind of doing an end run around you.
Yeah.
Love that.
No friend at all, is he?
Doesn't sound like it.
Chance is like getting ready to have his like 15th baby.
Well, Chance, I'm going to take more of your family members out hunting to kill deer. So eat that.
Yeah. Here's where the jealousy stems from. Everybody already thinks that you're trying to move in on Melissa here. You're taking her hunting. And so Chance has got to
I'm
beef
taking
with
his dad next.
So the whole thing, basically, Chance is out and you're in.
Devil's Backbone North. Bring it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we
Always good
appreciate everyone who's listening and watching the show. Share it with your friends. This show is definitely growing, and we appreciate you guys.
Got him.
Yeah.
Here's what I hope happens this week.
Got him. Huge.
And I'm a big boy. That's pretty
Wow.
good.
Did you just work that out in the moment?
Don't say that.
Okay, so
Remember when I had
we
my
need to
first
make
deer?
sure that people are going to the giveaway page. If you haven't already, we don't talk about it enough.
We're giving away a hunt.
You could win a hunt with Mark and Terry. You could win a Tracker off-road vehicle.
800.
You could win a Hawk the Office box blind. Not bad.
And those office blinds are the cat's meow.
I do
Take
like
your
them.
word for it.
They are nice.
And speaking of the 800, last year's winner, Andy
Tamaleo?
Tamaleo, he just filmed his biggest buck ever, or tagged his biggest buck
really?
ever, and hauled it home in the tracker that
way.
he won.
The
Yep.
problem with this is that no one wins these contests.
Yeah, they're
it's
all
a
fake.
scam
Yeah,
to
it's a
trick
scam.
people into getting their
Fake
emails.
news.
The worst part about this is people have been trying to scam our viewers with a fake
Yeah.
contest.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just did a bow giveaway. We gave away 3 Matthews bows that were bottomland dipped. They were awesome. Then we had people leaving comments about a Drury Outdoors giveaway for a bow.
From another archery company.
Yes. So do be careful. If it's not officially from us, it is a scam. So the only way that you're going to get contacted is through a Drury Outdoors page or a Drury Outdoors employee. And you can always verify any of that by sending us an email through our website at support@DeerCast.com or over at comments@DruryOutdoors.com.
And if I ask you for your social security, it's okay.
Yeah, we're never going to ask you for anything like that. A credit card, a social security number.
And if
You probably won't have to pay for shipping.
We will need your address.
if we use broken English,
and your
there's something
firstborn.
up.
Yeah.
But other than that,
All right. Well, good luck to everyone that's still out there grinding. All the gun seasons that are opening up. Be safe. Enjoy those hunts, guys.
make sure you identify your target, wear your hunter's orange. If you're still at it with a bow during the gun season, I commend you. But you, sir, are a dummy, Tim.
And shoot straighter than me.
Well, aim for the lungs.
Yes.
Center mass.
Center mass. That's better.
Just know that a crossbow shoots about 100 feet per second quicker than your vertical bow.
Yep.
All right. On that note,
Yep. Let's end it.
let's go. Let's go
Please.
screw something else
Scott's
up.
like, please, can we end this show?
All right. Till next time. Peace out.
DeerCast is now supercharged with maps. Get ahead of your game with killer new features like live Doppler radar, wind check out to 5 days, virtual rain gauges, GPS path tracking, and more. Plus, get our 14-day revolutionary DeerCast prediction and access to DeerCast Track. Prep, predict, and pursue with DeerCast.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.